So welcome to my review of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. And that's not to be confused by the recently announced Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which is a sequel of sorts of collections to this one, Capcom Fighting Collection, the very first one. This is its own thing. This is looking back on the golden years of Marvel and Capcom combining to do some amazing things. And I'll ask you guys, are you picking up this collection? Does it mean something to you? Did you play these games in the arcades as they came out, or did you play them on consoles? What are your favorite memories of these games? Let me know down below. Now, included in this collection are 7 games. We have X-Men, Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And also, a bonus game is included as well, which makes sense because it is a Marvel property, and that is the Punisher Beat 'em Up is also included in here. I gotta say, the Punisher was a big surprise. I didn't expect that. Now, let's talk overall about this collection, about all the settings and details and all the things that you can do within this collection. There's offline mode, that's the first mode, where you can play all of the original games the way they were when they were originally released. 1 player or 2 player at that point. Then there's the online play, and we'll get into that in a little bit. There's also the museum, fighter rewards, and options, and let's get into all the details of those. So again, with the offline mode, you can play all 7 games. You can also pick the English and Japanese versions, and that kind of alters some artwork sometimes on the covers. Now, the robust online mode, and at the review time of this game, I went on and I couldn't find anybody to play against, which is unfortunate, but I really want to keep trying because I really want to play people in some of these games. So in the online mode, you have casual match, ranked match, custom match, ranked leaderboard, high score challenge, and high score challenge leaderboard. So there's a lot of things you can do here overall with the online modes. And like usual with these collections, there's a museum mode, and this is one of my favorite sections because we get to revisit all of the old artwork and all the old great things from the original games. And some of the things I like, you have all the original art in there, the marquees, even the movesets that were presented in the arcades, and all the design work by Capcom back then in the classic days. These are the classic days for Capcom. Also included in the museum mode is the music mode, so you can go in and play any of the music from all of the old classic games that are presented here. But let's get serious here. We only need to listen to one song, and that's from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You know the song.
I wanna take you for a ride.
And there's also the fighter awards, so you can go in there and unlock different challenges. And then in the option mode, you can change any parameter within the game, from sound effects to voices, bringing them up or down, and also alter your controls. And there is the display and sound settings. And in here, you can change your wallpaper. And one thing I gotta say that kind of is a little bit frustrating, the wallpaper is set automatically to like picture artwork. And for me going in, I just want it 4x3, black at both sides. You know, that's the original way I saw them in the arcades and played them back in the day. So I want to get rid of the artwork. The artwork is default to begin with, and you have to go into every single game and change the wallpaper. So if you want it changed for one game, you have to change it for them all in every individual game. And there's also the display filter, so you can play with a lot of different filters to change the look of your game to make it more arcadey if you want, giving you that look in the arcade, or giving it a more crisp and clean look. And throughout playing these games, I kind of settled on the C filter, but you know what? I kept changing it as well, and I'm still changing it, trying to find my optimal look that makes me happy for every single game, and you guys will too. There's also the display size, so you can change the look of your screen. So you can make it 4x3, you can make it the original, make it actual pixels, or stretch it out to be widescreen. I know some people who do that, which just seems kind of crazy to me. I like the way it originally looked. Okay, what have I got to say about the games themselves? Let's start off with X-Men Children of the Atom. This is a classic Capcom arcade game. We've got to play as the X-Men, and this was really cool back in the day.
Round one, fight!
And we had Street Fighter back in the day, which was so cool, but for the X-Men to get its own original fighting game was a huge deal. And yes, many quarters were spent playing that game.
Optic blast! Optic blast! Optic blast! Gene, twice! You win!
Next up, I remember going to the arcade and seeing Marvel Superheroes.
Marvel Superheroes!
And I'm like, oh my god, this is great, because I was a huge comic book kid. I loved comic books, and to be able to see Spider-Man, the Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, it was a bit of a dream game if you were a comic book fan.
Stars and stripes with swing!
So a lot of us really embraced that, and we just loved some of these characters. I just loved the sprite work from this game especially, because it was doing all of those characters that I saw in the comic books, but in sprite form.
Shield slash! Thumbs up, soldier!
Now, this was a big deal game. This was a big deal game. Like for me, when I saw SNK versus Capcom, which was years later, we finally got X-Men versus Street Fighter. This was unheard of. Marvel versus like Capcom. Unbelievable.
Fight!
This was the beginning of it all. And I remember playing it thinking, this is like phenomenal. And yes, they used some of the sprites from Street Fighter Alpha. I didn't care. I love the sprites from Alpha. I'm like, bring them on. Let's bring in the X-Men. Let's do this.
Optic blast! Gene, splice! Optic blast! Optic blast!
Next, we got Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Another huge game, because Ken finally got a gigantic fireball, which I really, really loved. And at this point, the series was getting a little more outrageous, a little bit more fan service, a little bit more over the top, how far you can jump, a little bit more crazier with the amount of fireballs and stuff going on the screen. This is when the games really started to open up. And that leads us into Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of the Superheroes. And this is, to me, where things really got good.
Fight!
Because of the fan service. And we had Darkstalkers in here, we had Strider, we had Mega Man, we had Captain Commando. All of the fan service by Capcom was in full effect in this game, with an over-the-top aesthetic and an over-the-top play mechanics, making for mass hysteria. That's what I call this game, mass hysteria. But I loved it. I just loved the fan service. I loved seeing all of the old characters, all the old things from all the old Capcom games we hadn't seen for years. You know, Arthur made a return. I loved it. And then we got Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I just have to say my little piece about this, because I originally got it on the Dreamcast right here. And this is a really wild one to me, because I hadn't seen any movies online or anything like that. I came home, I put the game in, and I sat there, and I gotta say, I was completely floored. Not because the game was just awesome, which it is. I was floored by the music. I got to the title screen, I was blown away with the amount of characters, and then I heard the song.
I wanna take you for a ride.
And I sat there in awe, in that I had never heard a song like that in a fighting game. And I didn't know if I loved it, if I hated it, or I was indifferent about it. I can tell you now, I love it now. It's a classic moment in Capcom's history, and become something of a humorous meme joke over the years. I'm gonna take you for a ride. I mean, it's great stuff, it's funny, and just the music in the game alone is just like a little bit over the top and crazy. But here's when things really went nuts. More fan service, more over the top movesets. This is the pinnacle of the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Yes, they did the third game, and we continued on with the series, but it's this game that really changed it for me. And I was sitting looking at the screen going, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And I can't believe what I'm hearing. And what a great moment in Capcom Marvel history. Now, after Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in the collection, we get a side view beat 'em up. Yes, we get Punisher, the old Punisher game from the arcades back in the day. And I was thrilled to see this added to the collection. And what realistically is this? Well, you play as the Punisher in a Final Fight clone. It really is. It really feels like Final Fight as you're playing this. And I'm not complaining. There were so many games like this back in the day, and all you needed to do was put a popular character in, and I was invested. I was invested in the Punisher, and I'm glad to see it come back. And it's really great for some of the people who have never played some of the old side view beat 'em ups. And the Punisher is a really great way to go. A bit of slowdown, a bit of old stuttering here and there, and I just wonder if that's just the old arcade game. Now I gotta say, who is this collection for? Well, it's for an older demographic for sure, of people who grew up with it in the arcades, but it's also meant for a brand new audience to go back into Capcom's history to see all of the amazing fighting games and how they kind of shaped each other and kept getting bigger and bigger and over the top, especially to do with the Marvel vs. Capcom series. And it's also meant for people who no longer want to drag their Saturn out, you know, just to be able to play an old fighting game. You know, we don't have to do that or drag my Dreamcast out to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And you get them all in one collection, and what a collection this is.
Great!
Being an older player that I am, being able to play all my games in one collection is a must own. And I've already ordered 2 copies of this game for the Switch and for the PS4 because I'm like, I need to have these in my collection. And it can go right up here next to Capcom Fighting Collection and the Capcom Fighting Collection 2 that's coming out in the future in 2025. Capcom's really nailing it these days and giving the fans exactly what they want, and that is all their old games in one collection in one place on modern consoles. And for me, that's a major, major win. What do you guys think? Are you getting this collection? Are you gonna wait? Does it mean something? Do all of these games mean something to you? Let me know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time.